This brought to you by Zatarain's Jambalaya and Konica Sausage. Hey people, right after I posted this movie yesterday, I went to check out my subscriptions. And I seen Jacob Israel, he had a top rabbi claimed contact with the Messiah. This old rabbi says he's holding meetings with the Messiah. And this is the same rabbi that's selling amulets that'll keep you from getting the COVID. And that's probably a fact because it's all created in your head. If you think you got it, you got it. And once you go to the hospital, you definitely got it. But neither one of them got a clue. The Messiah don't want to talk to the rabbis. And old Jacob, well, he's a good old guy. But I don't believe I could drink a beer with him. I don't think he could stand me for long. But they can't talk to Messiah. First they got to understand Messiah's language. And Messiah's a coon ass. So if you prefer Hamburger Helper over Zatarain's, you're probably not going to get this. In the end of that movie I did yesterday, I read you the end of this chapter. And this is Exodus 3. Moses at the burning bush. So I took a copy of this, how Messiah wrote this, R-O-E-T, Messiah wrote to. And I put it on my paint and flipped it over. And I added this punctuation that's missing in here. But this is what it says, is Vav, and Messiah, M-S-E-E-Y-E. And Messiah wrote to, and the red dot here tells me to read this backwards and forwards. No son. Messiah wrote to no son. It true. It true. That's coon ass for it's true. Or it through. Messiah wrote to no son. It true. Chatting to con maiden. When egg to. So that's got many a meaning. But the main meaning is the Messiah rode to no sun, it true. There's no sun, there's not a certain day I gotta be there. Messiah rode to no sun, it's true. Chatting to con, K-E-N, that's the priest, the con man. To con maiden, to con the ladies. Win egg to, win egg. Win egg means when hey, you're really pushing it, well, you're egging. Win egg whenever I want to. I'll stop and con the maiden when I want to. I ain't got no set date, ain't no set time. So this Messiah. This was originally written in ancient symbols. You know, they have in the Egyptian they'll have a picture and it has 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 letter that it represents. And so this was and mouse I E-Y-E and Messiah row. And so mousing is several meanings, but this is mousing a hook, you know, to keep your load from slipping off, or you would put a knot, you would tie around here something too big so this line you wouldn't drop it and it would fall through the sheave. That would be called a mousing. If you just had a hole in a lid, you know, on a boat, things are flying around, it gets windy, and if you had a hole in a lid where you would put a rope through it to tie it, that would be a mouse eye. The mouse eye would be the hole where the rope passed through, and then you would tie a knot, so when you took that lid off it wouldn't fly around, it would always be at the end of that rope, so you could put it back on your bucket. That's a Messiah, the Savior, the Messiah, and he's going to save you from losing your stuff, from losing your load, from losing your lid, the mouse eye. And so the the Messiah road to no sun, backwards and forwards, Naxan, to no sun, Noson, to no sun, it true. And so this is coon ass. It's true. It is true. It true. So I wrote a no sun, it true, chatting to Con the maiden, win egg to stop and talk to her when I want to. And so there's several more meanings in there, but the mouse eye row to no sonnet true. No sonnet. I don't write my poetry to no sonnet. A sonnet has a set amount of words and syllables, or a set amount of syllables and lines in it. I think 10 syllables per line and 14 lines per sonnet. And so the Messiah wrote to no sonnet true. He writes his poetry how he wants to. But it's also the noose on it through. The mouse eye, the mouse eye wrote to the noose on it through. This would be mousing. They're tying these bolts off so they can't turn. This is a mousing eye, to tie this bolt off on this shackle so it doesn't fall out. Mousing eye. And so this is the mousing eye, and this is the mousing. So Messiah row. This row, the majority of the times it comes up, they say this means evil, as in hero. If there was an E in front of it, it's hero. And that always means evil. But they say this 26 times it means a keeper or fed, pasturing, shepherd. I think they come up with shepherd and pasturing off, and tending. Yeah, but more like tending the oar, as in rowing the boat. You can see it cut up here in Genesis 26:29, the row, and they give it the meaning harm, and they just give no in there, that you will do us harm. But they seen that was the wrong word, so they just added no. But the majority of the time, this row is hurt, evil. 127 times, 667 total. In row, evil, wild, evil, displeasing, harmful, bad, evil, wrong, displeasure. So that would trump the other meaning, but it's 127 times here. You see, with several types of punctuation, they give it the same meaning. The same one being in time, Bing, Chiro. So in the Bing of Chiro, that's the Chiro, that's that XR that the Pope totes around, and that's why it's called evil. Is the Chiro. This would be the Chiro. The X, Chi, and the Ro is to report their evil, or a beast of wild. The time of Chiro, a beast of wild. So in the time that this Hebrew was written, the Chiro, the Alpha Omega there, it was the symbol of their adversaries. That's who they were fighting against. To con maiden, win egg to, and then attack again. You see this flock here. The flock, it has the E on it now. They didn't have it up here. And so this X is also the TS, the Tazadi. And you replace it with a TS, knots, N-A-T-S. The knots hexon, row, them dibber. And so this them dibber mud bar, this is the word for numbers, in the chapter of Numbers. And so the knots hexon, if you got a rope and it's all knotted up, it would be called hexed. You know, somebody hexed my rope. The breaking a curse of a hex. The rope is hexed. It's all knotted up. So if you went to get your rope and it was knotted up, it had a tight knot in it, you couldn't get out. It's not going to run through the sheaves. Well, you know, that rope has been hexed. And so that's where your word nets come from. You have a whole bunch of hexes. You can see that here in your N-E or N-A-T-S, knots, nets. This word for flock has to do with hexes and knotted up ropes. To the knots hex on row. See, this row is a AHR, so it reads backwards. So this is a different kind of row. So this is the row as in tending the oar. And this is the row as in a line. You see it's behind. Get in line, get in the row. And so now you're behind of them dibber, of the number. To the knots hex on the row, them number. And so all them old priests, you know, they will have them tassels hanging. They'll have knots having meanings. They'll have their calendar. They'll tie knots in a rope to remember how many days they've been sitting at that oar rowing that boat. Two knots hex on row them number. Why valor realize her be. So the WY is how, why, or who. And the B doesn't have a dot in it, so it's pronounced a V. Va, V-A-L-A, reads backwards. It starts with an A. V-A-L-A, and then the tack reads just backwards and forwards. R-E. V-A-L-A-R-E. Valor. And then the R again. Real. R-E-A-L-E-I-S. Final M is a S. Realize. Why valor realize her be. Or her in life. I'm going to read this second line fast here. But this is where from lack you willpower, blab it sass. Where, to make the first knowledge, first thing you got to know is where. And from lack, this is, the angel and the messenger are always from lack. Many different spellings, but they'll always be lacking, from lack, lack. You willpower, you know, it reads backwards, starting with A, W-I-L, will, A, it means power. Well, you lack willpower, and you will blab it, you will run your mouth, sass, S-A-S, backwards and forwards. And so that's the word given for your wife, or the woman often, is what sass to. It'll be the same as this, except it'll be followed by a T and a Vav. And so it'll read backwards and forwards with the hyphen. And so it'll read what, S-A-S-T-U, what sass. And that's not necessarily your wife, but it's anybody talking back, is what sass to you. But from lack of your willpower, blab it, what's sass. And so they say this is flame, but it's the only time this word comes up, and there's no others. It's not even in a category. So there's nothing to compare it to except what we know what blab it means. A blab it is one who runs their mouth. You can't tell them nothing. What's sass? M-T-U-K, from to give. From to give. the SNE, the sun. And so this is the S for secrets or support. The supporting seed life. The support the cycle of life. The sun. The sun is the burning bush. The sun where when W-E-N-E, connect the cycle of life is when. The sun where when the sun bore in C first, B-O-R, in C first, is when the sun just now breaking, in C first bash, when the sun first breaks through. And so it looks like this burning bush is more about sun gazing. You do your sun gazing in the morning when the sun first breaks through, and stare into it, and it'll help clean your pineal gland and help you see. And the sun, when not, reads backwards, W-N-N-I-A, when Naya. When the sun, when not, look, L-K-A, look. And said, and yammer, and say is better, and say. Most the rise, M-S-E, must the rise, honor, A-N-A, honor, to area, to A-R-A-E, to area, to the arm, the Marie, to the army, Marie, the army of the ocean, the A-R-M-E-M-R-A-E, Marie is the ocean, the arm, Marie, the army, ocean is the navy, the warriors on the sea, the army of the Marie. The Godlies, the G-D-L-E-Z-E, the Godlies, the army of the ocean Godlies. Medulla. Medulla means it means the interior when you can see a plain shell, you know. A bone marrow would be medulla because you can plainly see the outer shell of it. And anything that you could separate, you know, if you break a crab up, you can see that there's a hard shell on outside, and be medulla. Anything with an outer shell that you can plainly tell to separate from the inside. From the inside, and read backwards from to the first to C-N, R-O-B, first C-N, make bore the sun. So I don't know if I'm going too fast or too slow. If y'all give me a little feedback and let me know if y'all are getting this, I could speed them up some. I know people have never heard this, so I kind of explain the punctuation and how it works every time, because nobody knows this. There's nowhere else to learn what I'm telling you. The only way I learned it is just by reading this a long time. But yeah, the God has always been the sun. And don't let nobody tell you sun gazing damages your eyes. They don't know what they're talking about. You just got to do it correctly. And wake up early in the morning, go to the East Coast, look on the water and watch that sun come up. And it won't take but within 2 weeks you'll be able to stare straight into it for 15 minutes as it rises, and it won't bother you at all. I've done it many times. I go fishing early in the morning and just stare into the sun while it comes up. But y'all let me know if you're getting this, if I can speed it up, or if you're not getting something, I can slow it down. And I'm gonna cut this off here, and I'm gonna do this whole chapter. Like I say, it's a good chapter. It's got some good information and it tells a lot about what's going on today. All right, good day.